Hello and welcome, Star People. This is APM, your intrepid star guide and cosmic detective, and this is the Outlaw Astrology Podcast, episode 149. We're talking about the pages. And before we get to that, let's do some housekeeping. This is part of a four-part court card series with pages representing the earth element, and this is study, exploration, and new beginnings. And before we get to that, let's mention first that you can find this episode written on the Daily Stargazer newsletter. It is available for free if you prefer to read. Our socials are also in the show notes. You'll find Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube. Links down there as well. And the newsletter is both free and paid. If you wish to support me as a solo content creator, I would appreciate you signing up as a paid subscriber because it helps me put out this content with a great deal more ease. Also, we are on Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, and if you could give us a 5-star review there, it helps people find us more easily. And one last thing, share the podcast wildly with whoever might be captivated by the topic of astrology as a lens, because that also helps bring eyes to my content and makes it so that everybody who can be served by the information has access to it. And so thank you very much for that, and we're moving on. Let's explore the pages. Okay, so what we're going to do is understand the pages. They are considered the earth of their suit. Now, note, this is the Golden Dawn presentation of this. This is how they do it. This is not how everyone does it. I have seen many different lineages. I'm specifically speaking about the Golden Dawn lineage, which I want to understand and I want to teach because I believe that foundations are necessary and helpful. If you're going to destroy something, you need to know what you're destroying, and why you're destroying it. And I intend to lay waste to this entire system because I don't actually agree with it. I find it fascinating to study, to understand what they were thinking. But my mind tends to, and heart tend to operate vastly differently than theirs do. So I'm going to state that at the out. So getting back into it, they are the earth of their suit. And the pages represent expressing through their suit. So they're grounded, potential, practical curiosity. It's a student or messenger archetype. Okay? Now a note about that. The reason why you're going to see messenger or student or novice or apprentice mentioned is what this. Pages were messengers in medieval society. It was not considered good manners for many centuries to just walk up to people and say, "Hey, how you doing? Let's talk." That was seen as rude. So you would have sent a page to share the message, verbally usually, about what you want to talk about. That was good manners. That's how you drew people in. You didn't draw people in by directness. You had to be indirect. And a lot of those social structures are very much present in Western culture today. Okay, so that's why you see messages in students. Also, pages were young people of well-born families who'd be sent to court, pages as a page. And that was an opportunity for them to understand and to observe how to move through society as a person of note. However arbitrary this system actually is. So, pages embody the youthful energy. They are the beginner's mind, the receptivity to learning. They are the first spark of interest in their suit's domain. Okay? So, pages are the promise of what could be. They're not mastered energy. They don't have the skill, they don't have the experience, and I should note that the word master is tricky because it suggests completion, it suggests fixed and absolute, and we all know that learning and life don't operate that way, so the word I would substitute is skill and experience. But they have all of the enthusiasm. They're naive, they're innocent, and they're willing to explore. They're willing to experiment, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, pages often indicate messages, news, opportunities to learn. By the way, that if there was news that needed to be conveyed from one higher, one member of a higher order, meaning that, say, we've got a duke and the duke would like to talk to a count, or the count wants to speak to a duke. You cannot just walk up to a duke. That's just not something that was done at that time. You would send news via a page. I would like an audience with you. That's how you would do it. And then the audience would be conducted privately. Okay, so pages would bring messages, news, but they're also there to learn. And so this could be the appearance of a young person or someone who looks young, or a beginner in the clairant's life, or a beginning stage, meaning that, say, I want to be an artist. You wake up one day, I want to be an artist. That would be page energy. Page energy doesn't have to do with gender, and it doesn't specifically have to do with age. It merely has to do with beginnings, the exploration periods, the experimentation periods. That's what it stands for. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a young person, although sometimes it can. It can also be a message. Say it's alongside another card. Say it's alongside, we got ourselves a page, and then we got the Seven of Cups. The message of the page of, let's say, any page will work. Let's just make it Page of Cups. The Page of Cups comes with a message about the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups is about making choices that might not be in your best interest because they're based on emotion, not facts. They're not necessarily practical. So the Page of Cups is saying, hey, are you being practical here? I mean, there are a lot of choices there. You could get overwhelmed. Make certain that the choices you make are wise and that they're based on real circumstances, what you actually need and what's going on in your life right now, rather than the future or whatever idealistic fantasies you might be engaging in or indulging in. Okay? And so that's how that could be read if you're doing a reading, or if you're even working astrology-wise. So let's get to the astrology part. Let's talk about pages. So pages are the earth element according to the Thelema and Golden Dawn. And that is earth of fire, water, air, and earth of earth. So the Page of Wands would be earth of fire. And this is an enthusiastic beginner, someone who's passionate, inquisitive, and curious. The message could be about creative adventures, or creative ventures and adventure, a quest, the spark of inspiration that seeks grounding. Now, the Page of Cups is earth of water, and that's emotional sensitivity, creative dreaming, visualizing, you might see it that way, and it's a gentle opening of the heart and being receptive to emotion. The Page of Swords is earth of air. That's mental curiosity, truth-seeking, a truth-seeking beginner, a message about communication or conflict. It's a sharp mind learning to wield ideas and one's tongue with care. Page of Pentacles, earth of earth, studious dedication, practical learning, messages about money and material matters. It's the diligent student building skill through patient practice. So each page channels their suit's essence through the earth's grounding influence, and it makes the potential tangible. And it has to be done through study, through practice, through embodied exploration. Now, I'm a big fan of three singers. That would be Aretha Franklin, because I became a big fan after listening to her, listening to Jennifer Hudson play her in a biopic, and then I watched a documentary about her, and I was just blown away by her voice. Great voice. Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. Now, page energy is diligent study. And what most people don't see or don't know, they just hear the performance, see the performance of these three people, and they don't think about how all of the hard work that went into those voices. They didn't open their mouths one day and just went, whoo! They didn't do that. They had study. All three vocalists can do the things with their voices that they can do through years of diligent practice and study with someone acting as the mentor and the teacher. In the case of Aretha, she comes from a family of singers, and she comes from a family of entertainers. And so the choir master, because that's where she started her vocal career, her singing career started in a church, as did Whitney Houston's. And so the choir master would be Aretha and those people. That would be the person that would coach you when you were singing. In case of Whitney, it was her mother, Cissy Houston, who was also a professional singer and who sang on many records and also worked with Elvis. And he was a big fan of she and her vocal group. And so Whitney was mentored by her mother, who was a very strict mentor and teacher, and did not allow Whitney to go off on too many tangents because she was really drilling in the simple basics that she wanted Whitney to grab onto in order for her to hold that voice and for it to do what it did. And it clearly worked because her voice is amazing, was amazing, still is amazing, even though she's no longer with us. And then there's Mariah, whose mother was a vocal coach, and particularly opera-based vocal coach. And so her being able to sing up and down the piano, that was her mother's diligence and her practicing a lot. So when I'm mentioning these three people, I am talking about page energy. I'm talking about all the years of page energy in which no one saw the hard work, the diligence, the practices that page energy embodies, which obviously they embodied once because they have such prodigious vocal talent and prowess, okay? And so that's how one might channel that energy. It's study and practice. People don't become good at things magically. That is a story that gets sold to us by our culture because Western culture likes expediency. It wants things fast. It wants growth. It wants progress. It wants always to be moving forward. It's always looking at the future with its eye on the past. And so page energy reminds us that anything worth doing is going to be studied and practiced and done so patiently and diligently, even in the face of frustration, of loss, of exhaustion, for example. Now, if we're going to be reading with the pages, we're going to be dealing with questions of potential and the messages about that potential. So, pages speak to questions about new beginnings, learning opportunities, once again, messages, news, young people, students, and the early stages of any endeavor. So if you wanted to, say, pivot from a career in corporate America and you wanted to be an artist, you're still in the stages, how am I going to do this? That is page energy. I also associate, me personally, not the Golden Dawn, I associate page energy a bit with the Fool, because the Fool doesn't know what they don't know yet. They are still trying to figure that out. The pages are trying to sort it out too. They don't know what they don't know yet. They're learning to ground their ideas, their emotions, their energy into practical strategies which they don't have down yet. It's not possible to start your art career with strategy because strategy suggests skill and experience, and how are you going to do that when you don't know what you don't know yet and you don't know enough yet? You have to build to strategy eventually. And so it's a process-based experience rather than results-driven. You're not trying to get somewhere. You're learning and being receptive to emotions, ideas, and other people with discernment, obviously. Because the earth sign is practical, and practical means discerning, means you're not going after everything, not trying to get everything, not trying to connect with all ideas, all people. You need to choose which ideas are the most salient and which ones in keeping with values, energy levels, capacity, etc. Okay? And so let's look at a little deeper. Let's provide an example. So let's say someone says, what should I pursue this particular interest? And maybe it's art. I'm interested in art and I'd like to pursue it as a career. Should I pursue this? And we get the Page of Wands. Okay? Well, let's go back and have a look. The Page of Wands is Earth of Fire. This is an enthusiastic beginner, a passionately curious person. The messages could be about creative ventures or creative quests and adventures, the spark of inspiration, and it needs to be grounded in the practical. Okay? So, we could interpret it this way. Yes, you should pursue the project. Explore it with enthusiasm. You're in the learning phase, so that's okay. Embrace the curiosity, but back it up with inquisitiveness. A note, curiosity and inquisitive are not the same thing. Curiosity is saying, why is the sky blue? Inquisitive is going to do the research to find out about Rayleigh scattering, which is why the sky is blue. It's getting the science behind why the sky is blue, or why the moon appears to appear in the sky and disappear into the sky. Okay? So to repeat, yes, page of wands, yes, explore the project, this interest with enthusiasm, because you're in the beginning stage. So embrace curiosity and inquisitiveness without pressure to master it immediately, because you can't. You need skill and experience. And skill and experience will only happen through discomfort, but also through exploring and experimentation. And then you'll find out what works for you, not for some person trying to sell you their system about what worked for them. You know in real time what works for you and what's going to work for this particular interest. It allows you low stakes so that you can play around as an artist and find your voice, which will change. But you get to find your voice and sort out, okay, how do I want to do this? How do I want to feel? How do I want to look? How do I want to go into the world as an artist? Okay, let's see. Do we have time to do another example? Let's say, should I pursue this interest? Let's try another card. Let's try the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles is Earth of Earth. It's studious dedication, practical learning, messages are about money and material matters, and a diligent student building skill through patient practice. And so, should I pursue my interest in art? And you draw the Page of Pentacles. We can interpret it as yes, and it's going to require study. You're going to need to consider, money, because you're going to need to get the skill. So you're going to need to consider money. And since it's earth, that would be the body. So do you have the capacity energetically, physically? Are you healthy enough to pursue this? Do you have the capacity to pursue this? Do you have the financial means to pursue this? And do you have the time and the energy to pursue this? If you're carrying a full-time job at your corporate, let's say it's a corporate job for this particular example, and you're carrying a 40-hour work week, are you going to have the energy to do the study, the practice necessary for this interest to properly blossom? So, yes, but. Yes, and. Let's do yes and. Yes and you're going to need to be practical here. If you're pulling 40 hours, when are you going to have the time? When would be the wisest time to do this? How are you going to manage your capacity, your energy? What about finances? Is this going to cost added money? How are your finances doing, etc.? So you're being tasked with asking all the practical questions up front in a way that's very different from the suit of wands. The suit of wands is go at it, go explore. This one's like you're going to need more training. Are you up for that? Do you have the money? Do you have the time? And do you have the physical capacity to do that in addition to carrying your corporate job and other duties of life? Okay? So I think that's a great example. So let's talk about timing with the pages. And so pages are the start of a cycle. We can consider this to be the spring energy, regardless of season. So basically, it's the beginning of a season. So let's say we're in the beginning right now of Capricorn season. We are not, but let's just say we are. And a page, you can work with page energy. You can also work with page energy at the start of a new moon, at the start of a full moon. So let's say the full moon is tonight, hypothetically speaking. And okay, we're having a full moon and it's Capricorn season. That means the full moon would be in Cancer. And we've pulled out the Page of Water. I like to, keep it matchy-matchy. And so the Page of Water is the Earth of Water. And here are the key words. Once again, emotional sensitivity, messages, creative dreaming, and messages around the opening of the heart and receptivity to emotion and feeling. Okay? And so we're at the start of a full moon period, which is going to go on for 3 days. And the full moon is at 4 degrees of Cancer in Capricorn season. And so the focus on the moon is balancing. We've got Sun in Capricorn and a full moon in Cancer. And the card being pulled is the Page of Cups, which is the Page of Water. What could the message be at 4 degrees? Okay, well, here it is. There's going to be, because Capricorn and Cancer oppose, there is going to be a seesaw effect. There's going to be a juggling effect between personal ambition, personal objectives, and one's emotional life and inner world, and one's connection and relationships. And the Page of Cups is Earth of Water and emotional sensitivity. So the opening of the heart, receptivity to love. And so since it's the Page and it's not Earth, the focus is going to be on, in the beginning of the full moon cycle, home and belonging, because those are Cancer energies. That's, what are you nurturing? What feels safe? What feels like home? Because that's safety. I mean, ideally, we're talking ideally, metaphorically speaking. We're not talking truth. I mean, honestly, that's not really true, because home isn't always safe. But we're talking about home in the sense of, where are you feeling safe? Where are you feeling nurtured? Where are you flourishing? What are your emotions and feelings telling you? Where do you feel that in your body? Because Page of Water is becoming more emotionally granular. It's being able to name your emotions. To be able to name those emotions and where you feel them creates a sort of clarity. And if we got full moon against the two, it means a conversation it's a hard aspect. So a hard conversation about our objectives and whether or not they are in alignment with our personal lives and what's behind the scenes. Are we feeling safe in our objectives? Does our goal, let's say to be an artist, serve our emotional, our inner world and our relationships with other people? Meaning we want to be in right relationship with other people. And is this serving that end or not? And so the Page of Cups, Page of Water, is sending a message. The message is about being more emotionally sensitive. Okay, yes, by all means, you want to pay your bills. That's the whole point of the exercise. You need a job to pay your bills until you can be a solvent artist, if that's, the focus. So being more emotionally sensitive would be a useful skill if one wants to be an artist, because a closed-off person, it's hard to make art if there's no emotion there. Emotions will let you know what you're committed to. And if you have no emotion sensitivity and no emotional granularity, what you need, what you desire, what you want to create is not going to be readily accessible. And the page is saying, be open, be receptive to new emotions, be receptive to discomfort, be receptive to more of the emotional spectrum. Because the emotions, the feelings are feedback, they're intel, they're information to let us know how to better navigate this world, which is more like a maze or a labyrinth with a minotaur who in the middle of it, monsters and things we have to avoid, and traps we need to avoid, and the Page of Cups is warning us or telling us, hey, pay attention to your feelings. They are feedback, they are information. Pay attention because they're telling you what you need, what you want, and what you need to take care of immediately. the moon is about the past also. So what past patterns are coming up emotionally? What emotional patterns are speaking right now? That's another opportunity to look in that and to look at the past and how our nervous system was conditioned to respond is another thing to talk about through the full moon in Cancer at 4 degrees opposing the sun in Capricorn. There is a tension between our current life and our patterns now, and the patterns of the past that still might be calling the shots. And we have to take care of ourselves, our bodies, that's the earth element, but also mind, our feelings and our emotions. And let's see where we are. All right, so having said that, let's see. Okay, let's look at timing. So, as I said, it's the beginning of a cycle. And as I said, we talked about the moon at 4 degrees. That's the beginning of a cycle of the full moon. So it's the beginning of this experience, meaning that at this time, that emotional sensitivity and granularity is in its infancy. It is nascent. We're learning how to do this. It's a new skill. It is not something that we have a lot of experience with yet. And so we're still exploring. We're still learning. We're still trying to ground our emotions in the very real, tangible world that we actually live in. All righty, let's look there. Okay, so a question, a period of reflection. So where in your life are you a page? What are you curious about? What are you inquisitive about? What messages might you receive or deliver? So those are periods of reflection, questions of reflection. And as I said, Cancer season is good for emotions. If it's water, fire seasons. So the beginning of any fire season, you can pick up a page card and work with it. At the beginning of an earth season, that'd be Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. At the beginning of any of those seasons, you can work with page energy. And this is true of any suit. You can start doing that. That's the beginning. Where do you want to be receptive? Where do you want to be more open? What are you curious about? What messages might you be getting during those time periods? You can also use page energy at spring as well, because that's very youthful, started off energy. You can also use it at the first new moon of every year. You can use page energy then, because that's also beginner's mind and about where you want to put your focus and be practical, what you're receptive, curious about, and inquisitive to. Alrighty, so I think we've wrapped that up quite nicely. And here's the key takeaway. Pages remind us that every skilled practitioner was once a beginner. And so honor your curiosity. Honor your inquisitiveness. Stay open to messages. Stay open to feedback. Stay open to intel and trust the learning process. You're not trusting people, you're trusting the process itself as you experience it. And so, here is a chance to reflect. Identify one area in which you are a page, where you are actively learning, exploring, or just beginning. Give yourself permission to be a student without judgment. Give yourself permission to ask questions, to make mistakes, to experiment, to not have all the answers, to always be in the midst currently, at least for a time, to figuring things out. We don't have to rush to certainty. Pages are proof that we can be curious and ask all the questions and still have that part of the experience be just as relevant and valid as the part of us that's got it all sorted out and is polished and ready for prime time. Okay? And so the next episode, we're going to be leaning into the nights. We're going to explore the mutable, the active energy that takes the page's potential into motion.